I used to work at a prison, and I definitely think when you work at a prison, you start to gather a lot of insight about how things work in the community. Let's just call it that. And at the risk of getting canceled, I'm going to share some insights. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones, and I worked in corrections for quite some time, and I worked with, people, parolees and pretrial and all those kind of diversion programs. And, I used to work with people that were part of like the Aryan Brotherhood and gang affiliations and things like that. And with people that were part of the Aryan Brotherhood, they are aligned only, they make it very clear that they're whites only, for whites only. And one of the things that I would notice is like, in working with like leaders or guys that were at the top of that, every now and then they would sort of, make a statement by sort of aligning themselves with like other gangs and things like that. So if I saw a guy with, let's say at the Aryan Brotherhood, and next thing you know, I see him walking around with Mexicans or with blacks, other gang affiliated that were not of his culture, the first thing I'm like is like, what the heck are you doing? Why are you doing that? And so I would, kind of yank this guy up, and I'd be like, what's going on? Because my role as a clinician is to, of course, assess for predatory behavior. Like, what are you doing? This is unusual, and you're clearly trying to make a statement by doing this, and it wasn't just my concern. It'd be everybody's concern, like, whoa, did you see this and that and the other? And, so I'm like having a conversation, and one of the things that I've noticed is that when I saw a guy, and if it wasn't related to victimization or anything like that, one of the things that I would notice is that like people that are clearly, that outwardly make the appearance that like I'm for white community only, or, this and that. If they were to align themselves with other members that cause conflict and chaos, it's usually because of a couple of things. Sex, money, drugs, or some sort of other favors, and most likely it usually had to do a lot with, I would say more so money, drugs, and or some other favor, more so than sex, but not always. And so, because usually it had to be pretty big for them to kind of, have this agreement with other communities, right? And so I think that, whenever I see this, and I'll speak in this way so that I won't get canceled, right, and snatched up. You never know, considering the climate that we're in now. So whenever I see, people that are very clearly aligned with just their communities, and they make it very clear that they don't really like other communities, make public displays of wanting to be with another community, I always consider those four things: money, drugs, favors, or sex.